Joining us now to analyze all of this for us is legal analyst and litigator Debra Opri. Debra, thanks so much for joining us.
Deborah!
Wow. Listen, I did not hear from anyone when the jury went out that there was anyone who thought it was going to be anything other than a hung jury. So all I can say is things we spoke about yesterday with the 5 women, the deposition statements of Bill Cosby himself, and that settlement. I just think when those people went into that room with this new world order we're in of the Me Too movement, I think the statements buried him. It's not okay, and it's a watershed. I am very emotional about this verdict because we have a watershed moment in our society where I know for months and a few years we've had the Me Too movement and people had to speak out and men lost their jobs and influence and power took a back seat. But now, this is the very first high-profile conviction. The world changed today.
I agree, Deborah. When you say watershed moment and you're emotional, what is it about this in particular moment? Is it because you just assumed that Philadelphia, the jury, would get it wrong? Because both John and I thought, so, okay, because we all talked about this yesterday.
Could have been home cooking.
I thought it was, you thought it was because they thought celebrity. Deborah thought something else. I thought something else.
Dr. Huxtable.
Yes.
I thought it was Dr. Huxtable that there would be one juror there saying, I don't want to believe this. Not anything other than subconsciously that they would be a lone holdout. And what happened, and again, I'm going to say something about Tom Mesereau. There have been a lot of comments that he was sleeping during closing arguments and maybe he's past his prime, but he did the job he needed to do by attacking the credibility of this woman. I'll tell you what went wrong. When he took this approach and then they said 5 women can testify, it's 50,000 Frenchmen can't be wrong. You can't attack the credibility of 5, maybe 1, maybe 2, but you can't say a celebrity willingly paid almost $3.5 million, his deposition statements were this, that basically hurt him, and 5 other women came out, and maybe his approach and his strategy was not appropriate. Maybe it should have been the very first case all over again. He thought this was consensual. He believed this was consensual. So the problem here is it's not going to work anymore to attack the accusers. And that's why I'm emotional, because finally, and I've been doing this almost 30 years, and I don't want to get choked up, but I'm proud of that woman who for 14 years stood up. And all I can tell you is they're not going to laugh at people and tell them to be quiet anymore. Remember that woman with that Frenchman or whoever that individual was, the head of the money at World Bank or something, and he was in New York on business.
Yes, she was the cleaning lady.
She was a cleaning lady, the maid. She was the maid at the hotel.
And
of course.
They had a very vicious attorney, and
they tried to discredit her. Discredit.
And
yes,
they did it by coming out with all this stuff that it was a sell job for money, and she disappeared into the woodwork.
She sure did.
She disappeared because nobody wanted to hear a cleaning lady saying this powerful man violated me. Those days are over. These prosecutors now are going to say we have to listen or our jobs are. And that's what we're talking about.
Yep.
Let's take a step away from the trial itself, because if you go back in time and you look at Janice Dickinson, when Janice Dickinson was writing her book and she wanted to include a chapter about Bill Cosby allegedly raping her, both her ghostwriter and her publicist and the publisher of the book, Judith Regan, said there's no way legal will allow us to print this material. You cannot put that in the book. And she was probably right at the time. How does that world change now? If someone were to write a book, if the Janice Dickinson of the next generation were to come out and
I just got a message from Janice as we're speaking. She's like, bloody brilliant. She's very happy. So this is great. I'm sorry. I chimed in. I'm sorry. I chimed in because I've been talking to Janice about this for 10 years. She's a friend of mine. I just want to full disclosure.
Well, tell her I'm proud of her.
I will.
The days of them telling her no are over.
Yep.
These publishers, listen, they're all afraid of lawsuits. And now, as long as someone has the ability to provide the facts and enough supporting evidence or information, I don't think these publishers are going to be that scared anymore. So,
what happens to Bill Cosby now? Because he's looking to up to 30 years in prison. The guy's 80 years old. That's essentially a life sentence. He's not in prison right now. He was able to go home. He's got a GPS monitoring device on him.
Right.
If you're his attorneys and you're looking to make the best of this situation, what do you do right now?
You have to file an appeal immediately, basically saying jury misconduct, should have been a mistrial, blah, blah, blah. You got to get it on file. I'm going to say at his age and with his health issues, look for hospitalization, look for a doctor saying he cannot serve a prison sentence. Just look for any excuse under the sun why he can't physically and mentally serve a prison sentence. What happens? Will he have house arrest? I think at some point in time, this judge, with this fervor in this country now and this verdict, this judge is going to make him do jail time.
Yes.
Does he survive it with the stress and all? I don't know. Do we lose him? This man fell so far. These fallen heroes and icons. I mean, Bill O'Reilly, I admired him immensely, and I knew him very well. And all these other people out there. It's one thing that the rumor mill with the Harvey Weinstein, but a lot of other people, you never knew about it. You just didn't know about it. The world now is, we're not giving you any,
Well, but I will say that
we're not giving you any pass anymore, and I think Bill Cosby is getting imprisoned.
Good. I hope so. Janice did say that during cross-examination, they were awful to her in court, and so there's.
The sword cuts both ways.
Yeah, it is. So it's still
exactly.
that idea that what's your, and I guess Cosby's pit bulls, they had to present that, but
listen,
it's a great message. I'm so happy.
The thing here is, you cannot viciously attack women
Victims
today when they come out and say, this is what happened to me. I think Mesereau maybe took the wrong strategy, especially with this Me Too movement.
Yes, he did.
These people, all these defense attorneys now, especially in the criminal jurisdiction and the civil with the sexual harassment cases, they're not going to viciously attack women anymore. They're going to go with that consent. The first attorney was consent. He made a mistake, But to go after these women as viciously as they did, and I heard the stories of what transpired in that courtroom, it was the wrong strategy, and it's awful. As a litigator, and forgive me for saying this, but as a litigator, I feel for Tom because he had a very bad public loss, and you could see it on his face.
All right.
But as a woman, I am so glad all 12 had the guts. I'm so glad.
Debra Opri, legal analyst and litigator, thanks so much for stopping by on this very important day.
I'm with you, my friend.
Janice, hi.
I will. I'm
And
just
don't forget to
texting with her right now. I'm so happy.
follow Debra on Twitter at Debra Opri.